do it.
Hello, everyone. Matt's favorite phrase of all time. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Welcome back.
Energy.
Yes, welcome back to another episode of The Energy. No, The Memo. We are a two-man show today. Mr. Masados could not make it this week. He's a busy man, you know. He works a lot. He's a hard-working boy. We will miss him, but you got the two-thirds that are better than the last one-third.
He still has a real job these days, which is kind of just like mind-blowing to me.
Who's not sitting on their couch raking unemployment?
Exactly.
Like, come on.
Yeah, that's where the money's at these days.
Yeah, man. But, you got Richard Lyons and Matt Brodsky. There is some cool stuff to talk about, you know, and sports are really on their way back. It looks like. We still don't know because anything can change at any time. But, you know, we're here. So I think what we should start with is, because it's pretty much a separate topic from the rest of the stuff, we have a lot of NFL stuff we want to get to, but I think we should start with the NBA, just get it out of the way, and considering it's actually coming up, players are reporting to Orlando now in waves, I guess, like people showing up at different times. But there are some significant players that have opted out of playing. So we just want to go through those players.
And it's funny too because it's the two teams in the East that really have like the least chance of making any sort of noise or going anywhere, and it seems like, do they even need to be playing in these games? You have the Brooklyn Nets, who I think now they're on their fourth player who opted out. You have Spencer Dinwiddie. You have, help me, I don't know.
Taurean Prince.
Why am I blanking? Taurean Prince.
But did DeAndre Jordan opt out?
Yeah, DeAndre Jordan is not playing.
I forgot.
And there was someone else.
I'm going to find out
besides obviously KD and Kyrie, there was someone else who opted out. So we'll get that.
Chandler.
Yes, Wilson Chandler. Right. So those are four guys who, I mean, they're role players. Dinwiddie's obviously an important part of the team. But they're going to be signing replacement players who are like free agents, I guess. So like they're just makeshifting an entire roster almost.
Yeah.
And then you have, for the Wizards, Bradley Beal is joining Davis Bertans, who already said he was opting out. Beal is not going to play because of shoulder injury. I didn't know he was hurt, but I guess he has a shoulder injury. Yeah,
maybe it could not be that severe, and he's just kind of like not worth it, maybe. I don't know the extent of his injury, but yeah, I mean, like you said, they're two pretty bottom-barrel teams, except the Nets aren't they the 7th seed at the moment?
Yeah, I think they're like one game up on Orlando, though.
Oh, okay. So, but if they do end up being the 7th or 8th seed, I guess they got to stay there pretty long, you know, and it kind of sucks considering they have absolutely no shot.
Yeah, that's the thing, because when all of these Nets guys were dropping out, they're half a game. The Nets are half a game up on Orlando. So
okay,
I was thinking, like, with all these Nets guys dropping out, maybe the Wizards can actually, you know, get themselves into the playoff picture, and then Beal dropped out. So you're basically, I mean, the Wizards. The Wizards have to get within 4 games of the 8th seed to even have the play-in. They're 5.5 back now, so the Nets will probably just drop to 8, and that'll be that.
Yeah, so it's going to be. So you're saying the Nets will drop to 8 and like the Wizards won't be within 4.5 games?
Yeah, I don't think that they would even force the play-in game.
So, yeah, I guess the only positive for the Nets at this point is like you get LeVert more playoff experience, who will be, you know, a key piece, I expect, unless they pull something and Kyrie wants everyone gone or something like that. But maybe some of these other guys that are unknowns on the team get a chance to step up and they show a little something, and the Nets can flip them for some picks. But yeah, LeVert
and Allen too. There's going to be the only guys really.
Yeah, I forgot about Allen, my boy. But
so those guys will get some good minutes.
In the West, we haven't really heard that many. I know Avery Bradley of the Lakers has opted out, and they signed J.R. Smith in his place. And Lou Williams still hasn't said anything on if he's going to play or not, and I feel like it's kind of getting close.
Did he say that it was like up in the air?
Yeah, I just looked it up on Twitter before just because I wanted to see if he was confirmed or not, and The only things I see are like the tweets I saw from a week ago of people saying he's 50-50 at the moment, and Ramona Shelburne said he was leaning towards not playing. But I'm surprised there hasn't been any official announcement, considering players are showing up now.
Yeah, they're all like going down to Orlando. Like I think it's this week. The teams they have it like scheduled out what teams go when.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna end up playing. I feel like it's just a little mind game with him.
Yeah,
probably wants everyone who hates the Clippers to be like, yeah, they don't have Lou Williams, let's go. You know, people like me. But yeah, that's really it's crazy. Like, some of these teams have to, at least there's no really, you know, besides Beal, but he's not on a really relevant team at the moment. There's no huge star that is.
Yeah, well, because I think really the thing that's happening is you're seeing that the players that are opting out are obviously on teams who don't have a shot, so it's like they don't think it's worth it, obviously. So the teams that are actually competing, maybe they don't think it's the best idea, but they want to win a championship, so they're going to, you know, put that aside and go try to compete. And Joel Embiid, I don't know if you saw, he had a statement yesterday about going to the bubble, and I'm trying to find what it was right now. He was basically saying that like he doesn't agree with it. He doesn't think it's the best idea, but he's like, I have to put on for my city, and I'm not going to let them down. This is what he goes. He goes, I'm not a big fan of the idea, but then again, I'm going to do my job. I'm not going to let the city down. I'm going to represent my city. That's what I've always done. So you just the mindset doesn't change. So that's what it's basically. Team players that, you know, think that they have a shot to win, they're going to be more willing to take the risk than players on Brooklyn and Washington.
It's going to be a really interesting playoffs, honestly. I feel like both conferences have like obviously the Bucks are, you know, the one seed in the whole NBA, but everyone's healthy now. Everyone's coming back like 100%, hopefully. You got the Lakers, Clippers, even the Rockets in the West, the Nuggets too, like people leave them out, like, and then in the East you got the 76ers, Celtics, Raptors, Bucks. Like, it's going to be interesting because they've all been off for so long. Like, all it takes is Giannis like not finding his groove, and all of a sudden the Bucks are out, you know? Like, yeah. It's gonna be really cool to watch. Hopefully hopefully it keeps going. I mean,
hopefully we get a conclusion to it for sure. But I agree, it's going to be a lot more wide open maybe than people think. At least before, you know, maybe in like the middle tiers. You know, I think that we all believe Lakers, Bucks, Clippers, you know, that Final Four type is going to be there at the end. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were a couple upsets along the way for sure.
Yeah. So, in regard to the play-in game, because in the West there's how many teams? 13.
Yes.
So if they're all within each other, what happens? Is there like they all have to play a play-in?
Well, so it's basically like if you look at it throughout the regular season, like if teams are tied, there still is an 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. So like the tiebreakers come in. So like if they have the same record, it's whoever is slotted in that 9th spot based on the previous tiebreakers.
And then they play the play-in game.
They would play the play-in with the 8th seed. Yeah, I was wondering that too when they first announced it. I was like, what if they all have the same record? But if you think about it, like the standings still do exist.
All right, that makes sense.
So there will be a ninth seed one way or another.
Yeah. So until the league actually starts up again, that's pretty much the NBA news that we really have. Unless you had something else you wanted to toss in there, but
no, it's pretty exciting. They came out with the scrimmage schedule for the the games that they're going to be doing. Kornfeld sent that with the scribbles all over it.
Yeah, that was funny.
I don't know if that's going to be televised or not. I think it'd be cool to see.
I read something that they were talking about televising it. Probably be smart on their end, just get more...
get some content out there.
Yeah, get stuff out there, or even like just highlights of it. I'm sure there'll be some form of media of the scrimmages. Sure. Yeah. So actually, just 2 minutes ago, Jamal Crawford agreed to a deal with the Brooklyn Nets.
Really?
So it looks like the Nets have their superstar. Upsets all over.
Wait, I thought he was on a team. Wasn't he on like the Hawks or something? Or the Kings?
I guess not. He's on the Nets now.
They signed Tyler Johnson too, I saw.
Yeah, and remember they offered him like $50 million like a few years ago. Isn't he not good?
No, he's terrible. Wait, it says his Wikipedia says he's on the Suns.
I don't know. I just got from Shams, who is pretty good NBA insider. Jamal Crawford has agreed to a deal with the Brooklyn Nets.
What?
This is
the Suns are like playing too.
It says it's time, and then NBA Finals, and it's like it's Crawford, Tyler Johnson, and Jared Allen with LeBron, Caruso, and Davis.
Wait, isn't that Karis LeVert?
Oh, that is LeVert. I thought it was a joke about them signing Crawford.
Oh. Who's the guy in the bottom?
What?
Who's the guy in the bottom?
I think that was Tyler Johnson.
Oh. Well, yeah. Either way, the Nets are fucked. And what's interesting, too, this is what I wanted to mention. The Nets, if they make the playoffs, they lose their first-round pick. So they only get it if they are in the lottery. So you got to wonder.
I mean, it's not that important to them, but I guess if they want to, like, flip it for a piece to, like, win now, I don't know.
I mean, you'd rather have it for sure than get swept by the Bucks.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean...
I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't think they'll be doing any tanking or anything.
No. Well, LeVert's going to go 100% all day, every day, baby.
He's a baller. I like LeVert.
He is a baller. You know who else is a baller?
Jamal Crawford.
Yeah, he is. But I was talking about a man who just made $500 million. Put it right in his pocket.
He certainly is a baller.
Mr. Patrick Mahomes strikes the largest deal in not just NFL history, but sports history. It's 10 years, so he's technically under contract for 12 years because it's an extension on his rookie deal. So he has 2 years left on that, plus the 10 years, up to $503 million with guarantees and incentives and all that. And there's a bunch of little language in there that we don't know about that, like, what was it? Like, it was guaranteed something or whatever. What was that word?
Yeah, the guarantee mechanisms. I was looking into it a little bit to try to get some more info on the actual contract. Basically, as long as he stays on the team throughout the length of the contract, which barring injury, I don't imagine he wouldn't. He's going to be guaranteed. The contract is going to be guaranteed up to like $450 million if he's on the team. Then if he does get injured, the actual guarantees in the event of injury, depending on when it is $141 million.
Wow.
And it's basically just like every year that he's on the roster, by the start of the league year, the following year's contract becomes guaranteed. So it's like a year ahead of it each time.
It's basically like there's no reason to ever cut him, which they would never do anyway. But it's just like, and
he has player options though in case like he gets to the point where he's underpaid if the cap like blows up.
And you know what's crazy about this, and just to relate it to something and another contract situation that we talked about on last episode with Jamal Adams, we never heard anything from the Chiefs about like them. Maybe you hear like a report the Chiefs have like been talking about it, but there was never anything guaranteed, and a lot of people expected them not to do it yet and maybe wait another year. Patrick Mahomes didn't, throw a fit like Jamal Adams, and he just got the highest contract in NFL history. I'm not saying Jamal would have gotten one by being a team player, not saying anything, but it's just funny that how the two sides are so different, It's just
of course. Yeah, I mean, there's a way to go about contract negotiations the right way and the wrong way, and Patrick Mahomes. But it's also a little different because you never would doubt that the Chiefs weren't going to pay him.
Of course.
Like the Jets could say all they want, we want him, but like there is probably a figure that they wouldn't sign him at.
Exactly.
So, the Chiefs are just probably just blank check, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I mean, and if anything, by the time he reaches the end of this contract, like he's probably not gonna be making the most per year out of quarterbacks. Like,
no,
it's at $45 million or something per year when it gets towards the end. But he deserves every penny of it. I don't think there's anyone out there saying the Chiefs made a mistake or gave him too much.
No.
If anything, what were you saying?
Yeah, you were going to say this, I think, but like the way that they were able to spread it out over 10 years, it helps the team also.
Yeah, exactly. If anything, it's so beneficial to them to you just have him. He's yours now for the next 12 years. You don't have to worry about a quarterback in forever. And even when the 12 years is up, he'll still be pretty young in quarterback years. He'll probably have another possibly 8 to 10 years left if the greats that we're seeing now is anything to go by, like Breeze, Brady, Rodgers, Rivers, all these guys playing into their 40s and late 30s. He's going to be around for a long time. And now they don't have to worry about anything for 12 seasons. No, are they going to re-sign him? No rumors of this and that.
Yep. He's locked up. It's also crazy, dude. His cap hit in 2020 is $5 million this season.
Yeah, because it still is the rookie deal, right?
Yeah, and next year it goes up to $24 million and then $31 million. So, like, it's not even that outrageous until it gets to 2023. And at that point, you have to expect that with the cap rising, $42 million in 2023 is probably not going to be that bad.
No, definitely. I'm sorry. I bet in the next 3-4 years, someone gets more per year than that. I mean, what did Kirk Cousins get? Like 30-something mil per year?
33, I think it was, something like that.
Yeah, like if you don't, especially now that they set the market with Mahomes, all these other quarterbacks are gonna, once Lamar's up and Dak whenever he gets his, and all these other young rising quarterbacks. I don't think Dak will get 40-something mil.
I feel because what usually happens is it tops it every time there's a new quarterback. I feel like there might be a couple quarterbacks who are getting slotted underneath for a little bit,
and then eventually,
and then somebody will pass it.
Yeah, I agree. Like the guys who are in their first or second year now, or even guys who are about to be drafted in the next year or two, who end up being studs, they'll probably be the ones who surpass it at some point.
Like Deshaun is up for a contract because it's the same year as Mahomes. Like they're not passing it on the same timeline. He's not getting more than Mahomes.
Exactly, and like he shouldn't because he's not better. So there's no like leverage there to say, I deserve more than this guy, because talking MVP, Super Bowl champ, and Super Bowl MVP in only 2 years as a starter, 3 years in the league.
Ridiculous.
So it's really, unprecedented in that sense. There's nobody who's achieved that at this stage in their career. So that's why you get an unprecedented deal.
Could you tell me who the last 10-year deal was in the NFL?
John Gruden.
That's a good answer.
Does he count?
It doesn't count, but that's a good answer.
No, I couldn't, honestly.
Michael Vick with the Falcons in 2004.
Really? And how many years?
That didn't work out.
Yeah, he played like 3 more years and then got arrested.
Which I'm sure it was probably voided, the money, because of what happened. But that's the last 10-year contract. And did you know Tyron Smith on the Cowboys is on an 8-year deal?
Yeah, when we were going over that whole Cowboys contract situation, I think didn't we do that on the last episode? I went through all the contracts.
Yeah. I didn't even notice 8 years, dude.
Yeah, they have a bunch of guys on, like, I saw 8, 7. Like, they have
that
long
never happens in the NFL.
I guess the Cowboys can just do whatever they want, apparently.
Yeah, the cap doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, man. And the Chiefs are going to be... They still have money to spend the next 2 years until the new contract kicks in. And even when the new contract kicks in, they're going to be great with him under center.
They're going to be a problem for a long time.
10th overall pick. Good job, Chicago.
Yeah, I saw somebody spin it. They were like, it turns out the Bears actually avoided having to pay $500 million by picking Mitch Trubisky. So that's a good way to look at it if you're a Bears fan. Save that money.
Paying, what are they paying Nick Foles, like...
Yeah, they're paying him like $25 million for per year. But, I mean, listen, there's not much else you could say about Mahomes. He is probably the best kept quarterback I've ever seen already.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no other way to say it. He's amazing.
I'm sure he's going to win many more Super Bowls. I won't give him the GOAT yet, just because you never know what could happen. I mean, if he went the rest of his career with only the one, but he was still lighting it up every year, I guess you could make an argument. But when you got someone like Brady who has 6, it's hard to...
Yeah, he's got to get a couple more, but I don't think there's no reason to believe he won't.
I mean, they probably will win next year, if we're being honest.
Yep. It sucks being a Chargers fan, having to deal with that for the next fucking decade. That'll be fun.
Don't worry, man. They got Herbert. He's the next
Hate
Mahomes.
to see that. Yeah.
I heard if
Herbert's getting his 10-year contract next week.
If you rearrange the letters in Justin Herbert, you get Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. No, you don't. You actually get garbage quarterback.
Hey, man. Wait till he throws a pass.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll worry about that later. I'm not going to get myself upset right now.
Yeah. Well, that's the good NFL news, and I guess this is still good NFL news in our next subject, but it's not really on the, positive side of things in a way, because it has to do with the Washington Redskins and the fact that they're finally going to change their name. Apparently, that's what we're hearing. And the reason I say it is a positive thing, them changing their name, but the fact that it's taken this long and this much, outcry and people against it to finally do it, that's, the negative side of it. But at least they're making a change, apparently.
Right.
So,
yeah, they came out today. Schefter tweeted a couple hours ago that while the discussions are ongoing about a potential new name, the Redskins are at least planning to have no Native American imagery involved in their logo schemes for this year. So I guess, the logo and center and midfield will be changed. I guess the helmets and stuff at the very least right now. So, things like you said, it's a good thing that they're trending in the right direction. Definitely took longer than anybody would have liked, and what I want to say, because everybody is now saying, oh, now there's a problem with Redskins, or all of this stuff going on in 2020, now we have to change this, we have to change that, everything's changing. This has been an issue going back like 30 years with the Redskins. Dan Snyder has been told to change the name countless times. Yeah,
and that poll, everyone brings up this like one poll where apparently like 9 out of 10 Native Americans polled said they didn't find it offensive. And I'm not denying that happened. I'm just skeptical that like enough people were polled, or I don't know where it really comes from, this whole the poll and everything. But whatever. There's been people pushing for change in the past, and Dan Snyder actually used that poll from whatever it was, 2016, as like a defense of it, saying, I'm not going to change it given this. But it's just, it's definitely more of a, I guess the climate we're living in definitely pushed it over the edge, but it's not just because of what's happening in 2020 that people want to change. Like, it's been a thing for a while, and the same thing, and I've actually said this, like the Cleveland Indians I think is honestly worse, just because they're not Indians, they are Native Americans. And
ridiculous.
It's just, it's, if they were the Cleveland Native Americans, I don't think anyone would really have a problem.
Right.
But
they're
that's
just misnamed.
That's not what they're called.
Yeah.
So
it's a weird thing. It's like it's a crazy thing that we're in right now, when all of the controversy, because like you said, there are polls where people are saying that maybe this amount of Native Americans aren't offended by it. I've seen some people, some Native Americans think that it's honorable to be like recognized by the NFL and like have their history live on or whatever. But I also feel like we're just at the point where if I'm Dan Snyder or if I'm the owner of the Cleveland Indians, isn't it just best to not involve yourself in controversy or anything that could bother someone or offend someone? Like, I would just want to be, change the name to like the Washington, whatever. I don't have names off the top of my head, whatever it is, like a fucking tiger or a warrior, like something that is just not controversial. And so all of like everything that comes up with your organization, like the Redskins, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be hovering over. It's like this, but this is the name and all of that. So
exactly,
just even if you don't believe that it's offensive from a straight up business perspective, it just seems better off to erase all of that and just separate yourself from it.
Yeah, and if anyone who is like, I won't be a fan if they change the name, like, then you're just not. If you're a fan because of the name is the Washington Redskins, then like you're not a real fan of football. And I think if you're saying that, you're probably just being annoying for the sake of being annoying. Like, and I think you have an ulterior motive in the situation. I don't want to get too into that, but it's just not that big of a deal. Like, if the Jets had to change their name, I really wouldn't. If it's the same players and they're in New York, like whatever, man. Like I would be like a little upset because I don't think Jets are offensive or anything, but like I'll get over it. They'll be the new team. Yeah. They'll have the same players, and it's just
teams have changed names before.
Yeah, they used to be the Titans. They were the New York Titans. Now they're the Jets.
And then the Houston Oilers became the Titans.
Yeah, it's just not worth it to have that, like you said, hovering over your organization, especially an organization that's already bad, and then you have this attached to you as well, like that people can just throw on you anytime you do something bad, like, oh, and also they have this. Now it's one less thing for people to complain about and worry about, and I think it's the right thing to do, just because there's no other team named after a skin color of a race or an ethnicity, or there's no...
If you break down what the actual name is saying, red skins, like a person's skin color, why would that be a team name?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, like, I don't have any names except you wanted it to be the Washington Football Club. That's
just class personified right there. You want to really turn your franchise around and get in the good graces of the football gods? Washington Football Club, it just has such a nice ring to it.
I'm not opposed to it. I just don't think they'll do it.
It'll never happen.
Yeah. I'm not opposed, but I'm sure they'll go with, like, I bet that they'll probably keep the color scheme and everything. I don't see that changing.
It's honestly a pretty nice color scheme, the maroon and yellow. You're wearing that shirt right now. What is that, a Redskins shirt?
Gryffindor. They should be the Gryffindors.
But I like that color scheme. I was hearing that there talks about changing them to the Red Tails.
Oh, like the pilots?
The Tuskegee Airmen. That's what they called themselves. Dwayne Haskins actually tweeted out in support of it. He's like, I like the Red Tails. Which I think that's a good idea if you want to, turn it into a positive in terms of, like, honoring certain minorities that have been previously discriminated against. But also, like, the Tuskegee Airmen have nothing to do with Washington.
Yeah.
They were it was somewhere in the South. I'm not sure exactly where it was, but that was kind of something that was a little curious to me, because a lot of franchises like to base it off of the history of their own city or their state. So it seems like a little forced there.
I saw some people arguing against that, just saying, like, given what happens in, like, sports fandom, like, you don't want people saying, like, fuck the Red Tails or something, and then, like, like, and point, kind of, like, putting a bad stigma around them. So
they'll probably funny. That's a good point.
They'll probably go with something, like, pretty generic, honestly. Like you said, the Warrior. I don't think they'll do the Warriors.
I don't want to see the Warriors. Dude.
No. I mean, you got the Golden State Warriors. Don't be.
And that works for them, but I think Warriors in itself is such a bland name. It's just, we're the Warriors. What are we doing?
It's.
But I don't know. I think that they have an opportunity here to really, turn their franchise around in the way that they're viewed, and maybe even if get some positive auras in the building, and maybe turn around the fucking terrible franchise for the past decade.
Yeah, I mean, they hired a pretty proven good head coach, Ron Rivera, and he has control over the organization. Dan Snyder sort of stepped away, and I remember we talked about it on the show, and Alex brought up that everyone who had the ear of Dan Snyder or whatever was removed and fired, and doesn't have any more, they're gone, whatever. Then, they're moving forward. Dwayne Haskins, who seemed to have been putting in a lot of work this offseason. I see it all over social media. He's in really good shape. He works out every day. And they just drafted Chase Young, who's like the best pass rushing prospect in forever. So they're moving in the right direction, and this could be, like you said, this could be a turning point for them. They change their name. They get that off of their, their many criticisms that people throw at them, and maybe we see a new Washington Redskins in the 2020s.
New Washington Football Club.
Oh, shit. I just called them the Redskins.
A new Washington organization.
Yes.
No, definitely. And the last thing I wanted to say, and I don't know, I was thinking about this, and tell me if you agree, because it's gotten a lot of criticism that obviously the main reason why all of this got put into motion, now that they're actually listening about changing the name, is because FedEx told them, and because like Nike removed their clothing, all the investors were telling them this. So everyone's saying, oh, they're doing it because of money. Like the money is the reason, and that kind of gave people a negative perception of it, that it's not genuine. But what I was thinking is that I don't think it's a bad thing that it has to do with money, because like FedEx and Nike, the reason that they're putting the pressure is because of their bottom line and their money. But the reason why it would affect Nike's bottom line is because the people who actually have problems with it, who are offended and who don't want to support them, they are going to stop buying Redskins gear, stop supporting these companies that are affiliated with the Redskins. So to me, it's kind of like, it is because ultimately that there are enough people that care about it and are upset about it, that we, the people, are affecting these companies' bottom lines to the point where a change has to come. So I don't think we should just look at it as, oh, now that it's affecting the money, now they're going to change it. It's affecting the money as a result of the people finally having a loud enough voice to enact change.
No, I agree.
Which I think that's a good thing to see.
And look, even if it is about money, which it is for all these owners, they're changing the name. It's happening. I don't think Dan Snyder's a good person now. He'll always be a shitty guy in my mind. So you don't have to think well of him or whatever, but just be happy that you're finally getting what you want, and like they're doing the right thing. But yeah, I agree with you, like what you said. There's more to it than just
the money, right? The money aspect is a result of the pressure put on by the people.
Yeah. Well, I think this is what we're doing. We're in this podcast. We start off with the good stuff, and we're slowly bringing you down to the more depressing and bad news that nobody wants to hear about. More
serious matters.
Yeah. So I'm sure everyone knows by now Desean Jackson and what he tweeted, or I don't know if he tweeted, put it on a story, whatever it was. A false Hitler quote. It was not a quote from that Hitler actually said, but nonetheless, if something says Hitler says, you do not post that and agree with it.
Pretty basically knowledge 101.
Yeah,
right there.
What the gist of what it said was, Jewish people are trying to dominate the world and put black people down in their conquest to do that. I don't really want to read out the quote because
it doesn't need to.
I'm sure you've all seen it already. The reason I want to talk about it is just because I think it's just a little disappointing seeing the lack of, people condemning him for making the statement and almost people trying to defend him. And look, someone made a great point. I think it might have been Stephen A. Smith or Shannon Sharp. They were like, look, this is the same guy that threw the ball out of his hands before he crossed into the end zone. Like, we know Desean Jackson's probably not the smartest guy. And at first, I kept saying, he should be cut, this and that. I don't think he should, whatever. He shouldn't lose his job. He did something really dumb. It's just sad to see people sort of, making an excuse for it, especially in this time, like we talked about earlier in the episode. Like, this is not the time to be, against any race or religion or be talking down and like trying to divide people in any way. Especially when I'm sure he's fighting for his own rights and like the people of his race. It's just so weird. Like I almost don't. I'm like very confused by it. And then you have Desean Jackson, who nobody really cared about after he retired from the NBA, and then he was really good friends with George Floyd, and he was being an advocate for Black Lives Matter. He sort of popped back into the scene, and like people were really digging him. And now he looks like a complete moron, like saying, Desean Jackson was right. He's educating people, this and that. And it's just a sad circumstance. If you want to say anything first before we like continue on.
Yeah, what I was going to say, and I agree with what you were talking about, the lack of response from other people in the sports world. Because like you said, Desean Jackson, he is what he is. None of us had ever really viewed him as kind of like a moral compass or somebody who is like very up to date in a way, because he had never really asserted himself into social discussions like this very often. Like a lot of players do use their platform for social awareness and things like that, which is amazing to see. But you have people who are going to, like Desean Jackson, do stupid shit and say stupid shit when they don't know what they're talking about really. And then I think the response to that is kind of like where the change is going to happen, or like bring awareness, or like how people react to it is what is going to become of the statement. Like he's teeing the ball up, and then like the ball's in everyone else's court to react to it. And like you said, no one has really, spoken out about it. There's been a couple of like retired athletes that have said some things. For the most part, the large majority of people have been pretty quiet about the obvious anti-Semitic viewpoints that Desean Jackson brought to light, and what Steven Jackson has been continuing to harp on. And so I guess, like, we were talking about this last night. I don't think that it's more so of a fault of just, like, humanity in ourselves, that people are inherently going to be selfish about things. And
that relate to them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously the Black Lives Matter movement, you have all of, like, basketball and NFL that are predominantly black, consistent of African American players. They are going to voice their opinions because it's directly related to them, and they of course should be doing that. But then when it comes to being anti-Semitic and there's really not a Jewish presence in a lot of these sports, I think that it's, while obviously disappointed, I can see why it would be not talked about as much. Yeah. But it's wrong that that's what's happening. Yeah. And like it's either, equality and justice for all, or then like what are you really standing for?
Exactly. And everyone, including I brought it up too. Everyone was like quick to talk about Drew Brees and the reaction to what he said about the flag, which I don't want to like compare circumstances, whatever, and like who said what is worse, but it's just like it's what's disappointing to me is just it was an opportunity to show that like the Black Lives Matter movement was about really, like you just said, equality for all, and people, whether they can't relate to it or not, it's just like you got to show that you're in it for everyone, and me and Matt, we come from we're not Jewish ourselves, but we come from an area and a school district where there's a lot of Jewish people. We're from Hewlett. There's a lot of Jewish people that live around here, so we've been very exposed to that culture and that religion, and we've seen people that we know that are not okay with what was said. But I just thought it was a good opportunity to like really show how it really is about humanity and coming together as one. And now it's more fuel for the people who are against this and like Black Lives Matter and equality. It's more fuel for people to say. Everyone complains when someone brings up, the cop shouldn't be treated this way just because of one bad guy. It's more fuel for that type of stuff, for people to say, well, look what happened when Desean Jackson, had his anti-Semitic remarks and nobody like came to their defense. It's more fuel for stuff like that. And like we're saying, it's disappointing to see that they aren't coming to the defense of Jewish people and like condemning what he said. But it's a really, obviously a touchy situation. You don't want to... Alyssa just walked in, so...
Yeah. No, like you were saying, we're not... It's tough for us to really understand and speak on it. We're not Jewish people. We're obviously not black people. Yeah. But it's just... The whole idea behind what we at least strive for, and I know, I do that, I know you feel the same way, is that the idea is just it's anti-hate. It's being against, oppression of all sorts of different minorities. Everybody should be together in unity as human beings. And if these athletes who are so outspoken about one minority that applies to them, falling silent for another minority who honestly, like the Jewish community, very, very oppressed throughout generations, with going back to Hitler with the Holocaust. Like, this is a extremely oppressed minority throughout the history of the world, and you would think that, I would hope at least that there would be some sort of understanding on both sides to kind of like, have each other's back or just speak out against hate in general. Like, I don't know what they're thinking, but it's disappointing that it's been not talked about enough.
Yeah, that's a good point, that they have a lot of similarities in their history of oppression. Like, maybe not on the same level in certain situations, but Jewish people were slaves at one point. Black people, we all know black people were slaves. Black people, along with everyone, associates the Holocaust with Jewish people, but black people were just as low on Hitler's list of like people that they were against. Like
Hitler
they almost
hated everybody.
Yeah, they were almost in it. They're like in this together almost, and it's just sad to see. It's just sad to see that people aren't taking it as seriously. I guess the Jewish population is not as great around the country, and like you said, especially in sports, there's you could probably count on your hand how many Jewish athletes there are in the NFL and the NBA and all that. But it's just in 2020 we're trying to strive for greater in a time of disaster, and this was not a step forward.
No. And look, I guess it's still a little early. Like, if people are going to come out, it's not too late to come out with your support and condemn Desean Jackson. Hopefully we start to see some of that. Obviously, that would be ideal. Just the last thing that I want to say on this, and this is a Matthew Berry tweet because I think he put it perfectly, and this is kind of the idea that I've been trying to articulate. Hopefully I did an okay job at it. Basically, he was just saying you are either against all hate or you're not. It's not a pick and choose proposition. If people are going to be hateful, and this is me now, that was the quote, but if people are going to be hateful against any sort of race or any sort of culture, religion, we can't stand for that. Yeah, and so it's just it should be all or nothing. Like you either support it or you don't.
Exactly. You can't pretend to be an advocate for one thing and be all high and mighty about this and seem like you're one for all, and then turn around and be against something else. And it's the same exact. There's no different type of racism. There's no different type of oppression. There are minority groups that that deal with this stuff, and you don't get to pick and choose who gets to get more of the the support.
Right. And obviously too, like what I was saying last night and what I was saying before, like you understand how like in sports that are majority African American, that the Black Lives Matter movement is going to be more prominent, and it hits home more so for these athletes. So like to an extent I get it, but it's also like you can, because it's tough, because also like for somebody like myself, like I can't directly relate to what the black community is going through, but I want to be able to support them any way that I can. I don't have the same emotional connection.
Exactly.
But you do what you can.
It's not, and I'm not expecting them to start saying like Jewish lives matter. I'm not expecting them to all of a sudden have like this whole movement for Jewish people because of what you just said. It's not like the people that make up these fields, but when something like that happens, when someone who is supposed to be helping move things forward is putting out something like that, a quote from Hitler, you can't just let it slide by and make it like it's nothing and try and defend it, especially if someone talked against black, like with Drew Brees, like we were saying before, he within an hour every athlete was all over him, right. So it's just I hope it's just a bump in the road. I'm sure it was. You listen to guys like Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp who say they reached out to him and told him that's wrong, like you can't just put out Hitler quotes which should not be something you have to tell a 30-something-year-old man. But
of course, anybody over the age of 10 knows that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're born and raised in the United States, you probably know that Hitler was bad before you're 10. Honestly,
yeah,
you're taught about Hitler when you're a young kid. Like people talk about the Holocaust, and I don't know. Like I said, we were born and raised in an area that has a lot of Jewish people. Maybe we were more exposed to that type of stuff. Because I mean, look, even in upstate New York, I remember our good friend Jacob, who's Jewish, went to Oswego, and they said that he was the first Jewish person they've ever met. So it is like a very unique thing to be raised around such a predominantly Jewish area. So I kind of understand, but I will never understand putting a Hitler quote and agreeing with it.
No,
No matter where you've been
back to what you were saying about who Desean Jackson is with dropping the football before the end zone.
Yeah.
I also think to an extent, like, we have to stop viewing all of these athletes as like model citizens who know about all of this. They don't know nobody knows everything that there is to know about like these social issues. We're all kind of learning as we go, and to hold somebody like Desean Jackson in such high regard because he has a platform, like you can't expect all of these athletes to be like that. And like Charles Barkley said it years ago. He said, "I'm not a role model. Just because I dunk a basketball doesn't mean I should be raising your kids."
Yeah, exactly.
So like, a lot of players do use their platform because they are educated, and that's like amazing to see. So many athletes come out and like have all of these deep, thought out opinions and like really know what they're talking about. But it's not for everybody, and like Desean Jackson's out here trying to educate us about fucking fake Hitler quotes. Like he's somebody who just needs to educate himself before he tries to like bring it on to us.
I was just gonna say, like Peter Rosenberg said in that video you sent me, like, don't try and educate people when you clearly have not educated yourself on the subject first, and then with your platform spreading disinformation to the masses. So it's just for us, like, we have to just be take everything with a grain of salt and understand who it is that's saying what they're saying before like really deciding if it's something that's worth listening to or not. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I hope when we come back next week, hopefully we have Alex back, and I hope there's more positive things to talk about. I hope there's not any Mussolini quotes put out there or anything of the sort. Let's just calm down, everybody. Yeah, come on, think before you send something out. Yeah, let's continue spreading the love and educating yourself in private before you do something like that. But thank you for tuning in, everybody. This was another episode of the Memo with Matt and Richard. It did feel a little lonely without our our other third, but we wish him the best. You got any last words? Well, no. Oh yeah, the last thing I wanted to mention: UFC 251 coming out. It's this Saturday. Huge pay-per-view. I will be releasing my Memo betting tips. Probably either tomorrow or Friday, so we can get everybody have a chance to put their bets in. And then with sports are right around the corner, so maybe we'll do some questions next week to see what people want to talk about. But we're getting close, people. We're getting close. Yeah, by this time next week, the first NBA game is July 31st, right? So we'll have like training camp, scrimmages starting up. NFL training camp starts end of July. I'm gonna start doing. Baseball's back to 24th. Yeah, baseball's coming back. I'm gonna start doing my Jets stuff that I've been wanting to do. So look out for Matt's article. Are you doing a podcast or an article, you said? I'm going to do both. I think I'm going to release a little quick podcast, and the article will be on the website. But it's time to turn the content up a little bit with the sports right around the corner. Exactly. We're finally back in the groove, people. Yep. All right. So we'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in.